Yeah, you should be online. And let me bring up the YouTube stream here, and we should be live.
Welcome to the monthly meeting of Apple CIDER, Rochester's longest running Apple computer and other devices user group. We meet on the second Wednesday of the month in the staff cafeteria at East High School. Our website is applecider.org that has all kinds of information about like how to get here. Also has links to a couple of TV stations for weather warnings. Next month is March, and we have a spotty track record for being able to meet in March because we've had blizzards and windstorms and things like that. Next month is also our annual business meeting and election of board members. So we'll be putting out some information about that in terms of who wants to be what next year on the board. The board meets the third Wednesday of the month at the Irondequoit United Church of Christ. Directions are also on the Apple CIDER homepage. And anybody's welcome to drop in and visit. You will not automatically become a board member, as Steve likes to scare people into thinking. We have a variety of links on the right-hand side of our homepage, one of which is for shopping at Amazon Smile. And if you go through that link and designate Apple CIDER as your chosen charity, we get 0.5% of whatever you buy, something like that. All right, it does not raise your price. We have a Green Apples session at Bob Hoy's home, and that is on for this Saturday, right, at 2 p.m. And the address is on the homepage and phone number if you want to RSVP if you're coming, please. And then at 3 o'clock, same location, Steve joins us for a Q&A session. So if you have little problems you're working on and want some help with it or something like that, or something neat you want to show people, you can go to that. What have I left out this time? I think I got it. Well, the thing is, next month at the business meeting, we will distribute pre-printed ballots, but also we will take nominations from the floor. For anybody who wants to be on the board, you can nominate yourself, and since the board is well below its legal limit, if you vote for yourself, you'll be on. So it's not a toughie. Is there anybody here for the first time tonight? May I ask your first name, sir? Tom. Well, welcome. Somebody else we had. So that's how you know about us then, through those connections. Okay. Yeah. That's your first time here too? Oh, well, welcome all of you. Yeah, good. Okay. Good enough? All right.
What did they ever do to you? Alrighty, so my glasses are on. And I still can't see. I need that fourth line on my trifocals for really close. And I can feel the headset on, and so I thought that was my glasses. Alright, we had... I don't think we talked about the Apple's quarterly results last month. Let me get this up here a little closer. Not sure if they had happened yet. Apple made a ton of money. In fact, I'm going to find. There we are. Oh, and we'll talk about this in a minute too. They made a ton of money, and most of their businesses are growing, and the cloud services are growing very rapidly. Let's see, .com and oh, come on, 2 periods won't work. I had this bookmarked, and of course I can't find the bookmark when I want it. Third quarter, no, I want fourth quarter. Second quarter, no, that's first quarter. Ended in December. There we are. $91.8 billion, so $92 billion, $30 billion a month, $1 billion a day Apple is making. The iPhone is the predominant seller. We're seeing kind of a slowdown in the iPad. And then wearables is the new category coming on. Services and wearables. So services is like the iCloud service. They mentioned a little bit in passing that the Apple TV Plus subscriptions don't even bother asking about. You know, it's like there's such a tiny percentage of their services revenue because most people are getting it for free because you just bought a device. In fact, one report I read said that since Apple sold 1 billion devices, they're estimating about 10% of the people eligible for the free year of Apple TV Plus have actually redeemed it or not. So if you did buy a new Apple device since last September, so if you got a new device for Christmas, you are eligible for a free year of Apple TV Plus. On any of your devices, you can go to the TV app and sign into your Apple ID, and it will say, hi, welcome, and you're eligible. In terms of revenue, typical curves where the first quarter is the holiday quarter, so that's when they have most of their revenue. Profit, $22 billion in profits for the quarter. So that's $22 billion in profits on $92 billion in sales. And so the joke about the beleaguered Apple, which has been in the press for years. I think maybe that's conflicting. We'll see what happens. And so revenue was up 9%. Let's see, iPhone revenue, year-over-year revenue. Where was the other one that was interesting? Mac revenue up a little bit. It's been pretty flat over the last few years. But we're starting to see the 16-inch MacBook Pro is kind of rejuvenating the laptop line with the newer keyboard. In fact, people see the Oscars and Taiki Waititi, I got to practice pronouncing his name, won several awards, and in one of his speeches he yelled at Apple to try to get the keyboard fixed. Because Apple's laptops for the last few years have had a reputation for the keyboard not working well. Well, they did fix that in the 16-inch MacBook Pro, and there's a lot of rumors now of a new MacBook coming out, possibly next month. And the current MacBook is 13 inches, so the same thing they did with the 16-inch is they'll shrink the bezels, expand the screen, make it a 14-inch MacBook. So smaller bezels with the new keyboard, and then everyone will be happy as well. Yes. Does the new keyboard make the MacBook Pro thicker? I do not believe so. It might be a millimeter or two thicker anyway, but the keyboard itself has a full millimeter of travel now. One of the complaints about the previous keyboard that came out in 2015 is that it didn't have much travel. And so for those of us that learned on manual typewriters, not even electric, manual, and had to push that key really hard, these keyboards are really, really loud because I've been typing really hard for 30 years. You've got one of the 60 inches, don't you? Yeah. So they say they patterned the new keyboard after the external wireless keyboard that comes with the iMac that has never gotten any criticism. and so it's got more throw. It's still pretty solid feeling, and hopefully they won't have the complaints that they've had about previous keyboards. So again, the wearables category is up $10 billion, and that's up 37%. What's interesting. It's down for Q1, and we're not sure exactly why. The AirPods Pro, when they came out in, was that October, November maybe? So that was the previous quarter. They had that huge burst, and then the Christmas quarter comes along, and everyone's already got them, maybe. So iPhone revenue. Here's the other one that's amazing. So services revenue up to $12.7 billion, and that was a 17% increase over last year. And now this is probably one of the most interesting categories. This is how much money they make, their revenue, by their product line. So the iPhone has always been way up there on how much money they earn per unit. And all the rest of the stuff almost looks like a flat line because of it, because it's so much higher. Not unsurprisingly, the Americas is their best seller. Europe, China, Japan. There is a lot of concern about the manufacturing facilities in Shenzhen. I haven't heard if they've gone back to work yet, but after the Lunar New Year holiday, the scare over the coronavirus, they told a lot of the workers not to come back to work because they didn't want to spread the virus anymore. That plant, the manufacturing plant in Shenzhen, they have literally 1 million people working in this plant. And so that's a huge population of people to get. In fact, sort of on a side note, to combat the coronavirus, China built a couple of new hospitals. They built a 1,000-bed hospital in 12 days. 5,000 construction workers in 12 days, and then they made another 1,000-bed, and I think they took 14 days to make that one. When you have such a huge number of workforce in such a small place, you can do some pretty amazing things. Growth is high. So the other interesting thing is that Jason Snell, who does the 6 Colors review, let me get back to where that report card was. He did a report card on Apple where he basically interviewed a bunch of people about where they thought the Mac or Apple's products have come over the last year. And it was interesting to see some of the ratings on things. The Apple TV got a D+, mostly we think because they haven't updated in a while. But the current Apple TV Plus has a really impressive chip in it, so it almost the Apple TV hardware itself has a pretty impressive chip in it, so it almost doesn't need upgrading yet. But then that goes through in the software quality, because the software, especially with iOS, when iOS 13 came out, there were a dozen patches in the first couple of months. In fact, another iOS 13 patch came out last week, last week, a couple of days ago was last week, 13.3.1 to fix another bunch of patches. And so here's the change in how people were reporting things. So it's kind of mixed. And a lot of the blogs, let's see if he says who he gave it to. Somewhere around here it says who he gave it to. A lot of the other the people that he asked the questions of did stuff on their own blog about why they gave it that report and whatnot. So it's interesting to see what the tech pundits think of how Apple itself is operating. Mm-hmm. Are we not getting audio? Because that's that camera. Todd's not blocking that camera. So Todd isn't. Yeah, Todd isn't standing in front of the camera yet. So the stream doesn't get the people watching on stream don't get to see this. Right. Well, yeah, they do. So I just turned that camera off, so they won't see that anymore. When we get Todd up there, him standing in front of the camera will block So there was a camera picture of the tiny screen next to the full big screen. Alrighty. Did anyone else have any interesting news that they heard about? Yeah, there's a lot of rumors about a new iPhone coming out in also in March. Some of the rumors are whether they're going to call it an iPhone 9 or the iPhone SE 2, being a smaller screened iPhone at a lower price, which is what the iPhone SE was a few years ago. It was in the era of the iPhone 6 or 6S, but it was an iPhone 4 size with the 6S guts. So if they come out with a smaller screened phone that has the guts of a modern phone in it, some people like those smaller screens. And a smaller screen always tends to lead to a smaller price. So possibly a $399 starting price. And whether they're going to call it iPhone 9 as a progression of the 8, or if they're going to call it an SE2, after the last SE, that's going to be interesting to see. What we have seen is that prices for phones have been creeping up higher and higher and higher, and there's a lot of press about a $2,000 phone. So if we look at Apple and go to the maximum phone, which is the 11 Pro Max. And so that starts at, they always, it starts at $99.99. So it's nice that the iPhone 11 plain starts at $749. So that's a pretty decent price for a flagship phone. But if we go to the 11 Pro Max, we're now at $1099. Let's just pick a color here. Let's go up to 512 of storage. So now we're at $1440. And if we want to do SIM-free to pick our own. And you might as well throw in AppleCare Plus. So if you break the glass, it gets covered easier. So now we're pushing. Where is my total? It usually puts the total at the top. Yeah, it doesn't want to scare you. Yeah, so we're up to $1440 for the phone, and then another $300 for AppleCare. There's actually a new so AppleCare Plus has damage incidents where you can repair your phone that's been physically damaged at a lower price than normal. And then they also have started extending that beyond the 2 years you normally get. You can keep paying a month to month on your AppleCare and keep your phone under warranty, basically, beyond the 2 years that it currently is. And that's new for Apple, and it isn't really advertised much anywhere. But when your typical 2-year plan runs out, you can keep paying AppleCare and keep getting that AppleCare coverage, the extended hardware warranty, and you get 2 incidences every 2 years. You have to purchase the AppleCare Plus within 60 days of the purchase of the device. Within 60 days of your original purchase to get the AppleCare Plus. It used to be anytime in that first year. Too many people, in fact, we were doing it in our store too, too many people would break their phone in 10 months and then come in and buy the AppleCare and then submit the claim. So now they want you to do it when you buy the phone, but you have 60 days to buy the AppleCare after the phone. Had a question in the front? Yeah. No, 5G. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Charlie. So the month by month, when you choose to buy your phone, you can choose a monthly fee and have everything rolled up into a month by month, and so it tells us that up here. Right now it's $60 a month. Or you can pay it outright, so that would be the $1449 plus the $199 for AppleCare. And let's see, so AppleCare starts when your device ships. Monthly plan renews until you cancel it. So it's something you sign up for. So I can tell it I want to do the $10 a month for the AppleCare Plus, or I can pay the $200 for 2 2 full years. What's interesting is that if you buy the 2 years in one shot, it's $200. If you do the $10 a month, that's $240. So if you buy the full shot, you're paying less. So basically, you're getting 2 months free. You may be, since you already have Apple Care, you can, I think you have to go to Apple, because we haven't found how we can do it in our store, to renew your Apple Care and continue your Apple Care payments, to keep your phone under Apple Care protection. The other option they've added is Apple Care with theft and loss. So normally if you lose your phone, you've got the Find My iPhone feature to track it down and find it. But if it actually gets stolen and taken away, you probably won't get it back. And even if the police find it, it's a couple of years through the court process before you get your stuff back, because it's evidence. So they have an additional feature where they have theft and loss. So for $300 over that 2-year period, you can get a full phone replacement instead of needing to buy a new phone. So we're up to $1,650 for a top-end Apple phone. The Samsung Galaxy Fold, the folding phone, which is sort of the latest crazes now, that starts at $2,000. And so a lot of the phones are running ridiculously expensive at the high end. But what most people do is they go for the monthly plans. So instead of paying $1,600, I can pay $60 a month. And that's a lot more palatable for most people, because you're gonna have a carrier plan anyway. So you might as well have that monthly plan and spread your payments out. So it's a cheaper. It feels cheaper to you instead of paying that huge sum up front. The other thing we've started seeing, in fact, are you going to talk about folding phones? There were a few of them at CES. There's still more prototypey, even though a couple of companies are selling them. The Huawei, was it the Z-Mate, was one that it says right in the documentation the fold's going to wear out, because they literally have a single screen that folds in half. And that folding and unfolding and folding and unfolding, eventually it's going to wear out, and the screen will have a ripple or a seam or something in it. Microsoft had announced a new phone, and I can't remember the name of it offhand, but it's got 2 screens on it. The Duo, yeah. And so it flips open, and you've got 2 screens. You can have different apps on each screen, or you can have like a web browser or video playing on both screens with just a little tiny seam in the middle. And that seems to be a little better technology, because it doesn't have to have that folding glass in the middle of it. Going back to the 5G question, these are not 5G. 5G is too many technologies and too many names. The short answer is there's no 5G really available yet. And when 5G comes out, the way 5G works in what's called the millimeter bandwidth, right now, your 2.4 gigahertz cell signal that we're using now is the wavelength is about 4 inches. What's kind of neat is your microwave oven uses the same 2.4 gigahertz. So you can do an experiment at home. If you get like shredded cheese and put it in your microwave and then nuke it for a couple of minutes, you got to turn off your rotator thing. You can see where it's melted, not melted, not melted, not. So you can see that wavelength of about 4 inches. The 5G uses millimeter waves, and that's one of the ways they get it to run faster, because the wavelength is shorter. They can get more data in a specific time. But it does mean they have to put a new antenna every couple hundred feet. Feet, not yards, not miles. So current cell phone antennas, you need one every couple of miles. And so that's been hard enough to build out into the rural areas. Also, a millimeter wavelength doesn't go through walls very well, hardly at all. So if you're in an urban area or in a city, the theory is you're going to put an antenna on every street corner. But if you're on the other side of the building, it's not going to make it to you. Yeah, it's line of sight. It's a lot closer to the way Wi-Fi works than traditional cell signals work. And so right now, there are some 5G phones on the market, and they cost more than their 4G equivalents. And the companies that are selling 5G plans often charge you extra for 5G. And the general rule of the thought now is don't bother going to that expense yet because you're not going to see any advantage to it. I was listening to a podcast with Dwight Silverman from Houston, and his area is one that has 5G, and he has a 5G phone that he's testing for the Houston Chronicle. And it was slower than his 4G phone in the building he was in because of the positioning of the antennas. So right now, 5G isn't much to talk about. What we're seeing for the confusion is that all the carriers are starting to say they have 5G because they may have one 5G antenna in one part of one city somewhere, and it's almost a lie, but not enough to get the FTC involved because they do have 5G. It's just hardly anyone can ever use it. And some of the companies are actually, AT&T was big about it. They yelled at Apple and got Apple to change the logo. So the AT&T logo on your iPhone may say 5G because they have an enhanced 4G version. It's not the fifth generation cellular service, but it's a little faster than 4G was, and so that people started noticing their phones were saying 5G on it. And that was a little bit annoying to a lot of people. Yeah, the 5G will go back to 4G, which goes back to 3G. I don't think there's any 2G service left anywhere. How many people had OnStar in their car that quit working a few years ago because the 1G and 2G cell services got all shut down? And so that was a big problem for a lot of people. Alrighty, so let's close out of all of this. And back to here. Do you want to do yours first, George, and then we do Todd after the break? Do you want to come up to a microphone?
Cameras, some of them are facing outside. Okay, you got me on this? Okay. And we use them for a number of things. And they used Wise software. They were using the XNOR AI technology for person detection, car detection, pet detection. And it was pretty good. I like it. Like if my cat jumped up on the table, I had a notification kind of thing. No matter where I'm at, any place that's Wi-Fi. And Apple bought out XNOR AI. Apple wanted that technology, which is the person detection. The technology that they had, all of that stuff is kept within the camera. It doesn't go out to the cloud. It's all on your own network. And Apple wanted it. So they bought the company, and they got the technology. Well, on all my cameras now, I don't have the pet thing where it tracks the pet, and it differentiates between the car, the person, and your pet. So Apple said, no, you can't do that. So the lease on that software stopped. But, I mean, I still have the cameras. And what I like to do when I leave here, instead of calling up home, which I used to do, I just either the camera or my iPad bring up the Wise app, and I just turn her reading light on and off 3 times from either my phone or my iPad. She knows I'm on the way home. I don't even have to call. So that's good. Hey, the less time I use the phone. I only use my phone about 4, 5, 6 times a month. That's all I use the phone for. And I play games when Arlene's shopping, okay? The other thing that I like to do, besides besides the phone, besides the using the lights for calling home. I'm hard of hearing, so if I have my hearing aids and we're watching TV, my TV with a little box comes right into my hearing aids. Okay, it makes things nice and easy. Arlene has her volume for the TV, and I have mine directly through here. The problem is when she says, George, I'm listening to the TV. I don't hear her because everything is coming into my hearing aids. So what she would do, she always has about 5 or 6 cat toys right near her where the cat is. She picks up a little cat toy, a fuzzball, throws it at me, hits me in the head, and I go, what? And then I have to click on the box and say, okay, now I'm listening to you. I switch over. So that was, after a bit, she gets kind of frustrated. She goes, you know, before she would holler, George, George, and then she waves her arm and like this, and throwing things at me. So I said, look, we got the technology here. Just bring up your Wise app, turn my light on and off, bing. You got my attention because it's visual now. The light comes on and off. I know that. Okay, so that works fine if you're a little impaired with hearing. And then she says, if I opened up a book at 7 o'clock at night, I finish the book. No matter how long or whatever, it's usually 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes. So I know, that's what Arlene says too. But what she does now, she has her phone right near the bed, and if I go beyond a certain time, she wakes up, clicks on the Wise app, turns my light on or off twice, and then turns it off. I know it's time for me to go to bed, no matter where I'm at. So that works for us really good. And when she goes to bed on her lamp, I just turn her light down because the bulbs are what they call tunable, okay? And you get a 4-pack for like $30 from Wise. And I just turn her lamp down to really low light or like an orange light, nice and dim. And sometimes I leave it on. What does it take? 8, 9 watts, which is nothing, you know? So that works fine for me. The other thing I like with the Wise, we have the plug. It comes with an outlet plug. You plug it in, and now anything you want. You can have outside Christmas lights. You can have, she has the little hand thing with the wax that she uses because she's arthritic, and she puts her hand in the wax, whatever. Why have that thing on all night when she's sleeping? So we have that where it comes on in the morning at 9 o'clock, and that's with the Wise app. You can program your little plug to turn on and off whenever you want. So we use that too. So that's for like handicapped or something like that. The other thing, my wife had a couple of episodes. We had to call 911, and sometimes if she can't verbalize. And here I am with hard of hearing, okay, almost deaf. Let's put it that way. And if I'm watching TV, I can't hear her anyway, even if she hollered. And here she's in the bedroom and she needs an emergency assist. Break out the iPad, turn the light on or off, okay? During the day, the light is off. So she can flip the lights on and off 3 or 4 times, and I know she needs me in a hurry. If it's during the day, then I know this is serious, and I run inside orange juice time or whatever. So, this is cheap. The cameras are $20. You know, these light bulbs are $7 a piece. I mean, you can't go wrong if you're handicapped in any way. People don't like to use the word handicap, but let's face it, that's what it is, okay? And if you're, and you need a little bit of extra assistance. So that works fine for us. Lastly, I think you mentioned the phone. We mentioned the phone. We had, Arlene, she had an iPhone 8 she bought less than a year ago. And so she's using the iPhone 8. And just about 3 weeks ago, we got something from Verizon, and they upped our phone bill from $86 a month to $103 a month. Arlene goes, whoa, wait a minute. That's not right. So she called, Arlene, that's it. Former Marine, you can't mess with this woman, whatever. She's headstrong. She calls up Spectrum and says, okay, here's the situation. What can you do? And they say, well, what kind of phone do you have and whatever? And she says, look, I was thinking of the iPhone 11, but what can you do for me? I don't like this Verizon stuff. And they said, okay, well, tell you what, we can give you the iPhone 11 Red 64 gig for $57 a month. Okay, half of what you're paying, $57 a month. At the end, and that includes 2 lines. At the end of 24 months, we'll drop it down to just $28 for both lines. That's it. Because at the end of 24 months, you bought the iPhone. You mentioned that. She said, that's a deal. So for 2 months, our phone bill has dropped in half. And at the end of another 2 years, it's going to drop you $28, $14 a line. I said, okay, that worked for us. So like you mentioned, the deals are out there. We were Spectrum customers anyways. They said, that's the final price. Because taxes, all that crap, that's added into the other stuff. Don't worry about it. So she went with that. And
you are with the per gig plan?
no, we were whatever Verizon had before. It was a little bit more than per gig. And I went, so we just dropped the 1 gig each. I make 6 calls. That's all I make. Arlene maybe makes, I don't know, maybe 100 calls, but that definitely was under 1 gig. We don't do videos, okay? So that worked for us, and yeah. What kind of upset me? I kept her iPhone 8 because it worked for me. What upset me, the old phone, the iPhone 6, has always been in the case, okay? Perfect condition. It works fine. It does everything. And they said, well, we can give you $3 for that. Get out of here. I just put a new battery in here about 10 months ago. It still reads 100% on the battery. $3. I don't think so. I'd rather give it to one of my kids, than $3. That just upset me a little, but that's what happens, technology being what it is, Okay, ready for you, sir.
And if you don't, and then they also have a plan by the gig. So if you don't think you use much data, $14 a gig can be even less than that. There was some news that did recently come out that was it the FTC or SEC, one of the agencies, approved the T-Mobile and Sprint merger. Was it? Yeah. Yeah, so they won in court, so they are going to be able to merge. We have seen at our office, we switched all of our phones to T-Mobile and cut our Verizon bill almost in half. Because the smaller carriers know they're the smaller carriers, and so they often compete more on services and price, rather than saying that we're the best this or the longest that. And so you can do a lot by shopping around to different carriers, and not just get stuck into the carrier you've got. And it's easier to now port your number to another carrier if you do want to switch carriers. So you can switch your carrier and keep your same phone number. Yeah, that's the concern, is that fewer companies could potentially mean less competition, which means higher prices because companies aren't competing on price. But we almost don't see any price competition now, is that carriers are charging more than other carriers anyway, and they're getting away with it. It's the inertia of people that are on a carrier and don't even think that they should change, don't even know they can change. Yeah. Yeah, so cutting the cord, there are other places to get TV services. You don't have to get your TV service from Spectrum. Alrighty, so I think we'll probably take about a 10 or 15 minute break. We've got some goodies in the back that Shirley has set up, and I think Carol brought some stuff this month too. I can take dues up front here, and if you need to look up your expiration date, I can look that up as well. And then when we come back, we're going to have Todd Bernhard show off and talk about some of the neat stuff from CES. Thanks.
Alrighty, let's settle down and we'll get started again. See, now the wireless is working. On and off, on and off, on and off, on and off.
What?
Hello, hello. Welcome. Hello. There we go. Okay. Great. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name's Todd Bernhard, and thank you for joining us. Who here is from App Rochester? All right, good. So we got a good representation. So App Rochester is a group that I co-founded 10 years ago, and we usually meet the first Tuesday every month. We couldn't meet last week because I had to, at the last minute, go to Seattle for a Microsoft trade show. So we decided to piggyback onto Apple CIDER, where I've also presented a little bit, and been coming for a few years since really the iPad came out. So thanks for merging. All right, so this is me. I wear a lot of hats. Well, there's one of the hats. Good. No, what do you? You can escape and start over. All right, so you guys saw my secret animations. Great. Sure. Okay. So nice you get to see it twice. So I wear a lot of hats. I'm an app developer. I've had 3 app businesses: notie.com, allaccess.us, and flixacademy.com. So all different apps and fun stuff. But in the past 3 years, literally this next week, 3 years I've been working at Cloud Checker here in town, very close by at the Village Gate. And we do cloud optimization, security and cost optimization. Cloud checking, yes, exactly. Check your cloud before you wreck your cloud. So the other reason, and the reason I'm here, is I write for iPhone Life magazine. So I've been doing that since the iPhone came out, so over 10 years. And I do a lot of product reviews and occasionally tips and tricks, both in the magazine and online. And because of that, I go to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. And again, I've been going to that for probably 20 years. The first few years just for fun, and then the last 10, writing for the magazine. And I love it because I get to see, I jokingly say it's like time travel. I get to see the future and see what's going to be popular at Christmas time next year. So I do bring back what I can and bring back what I can give away as well. So we'll give the stuff away at the end. Just the animations. Yeah. That's okay. Okay, so the thing everybody asks me when I go to CS and come back, and they say, "What was the big deal? What was the trend?" There's the problem is it's such a big show, 180,000 people. There's so many different trends, so I try to break them out: TV, technology, and so on. So we'll cover each of these. A little bit of audio you can hear. This is a video, just welcoming you to Las Vegas, if you will, for the next 30 minutes. Over the past few years, the big thing was big TVs, then it became flat TVs, then 3D, then 4K, then smart TVs with apps, and the big thing last year was 8K TVs, but the content hadn't caught up. And now the big thing this year was what we call frameless TVs. So imagine this television with another one next to it, and they were so seamlessly connected, almost like the flip phones you mentioned, that you just didn't notice it, and it just looked like a bigger TV. So I think you're going to see that more and more. It's a little more practical that way, too. You can't get a TV this big home, but if it comes in 4 pieces and they plug in like Lego and look invisibly connected, that's the way to go. But in technology in general, in the past few years, we've seen drones, AR, VR, which is augmented reality, virtual reality, IoT, which is Internet of Things, Alexa, of course. I'm always hesitant to say that because usually something beeps in my house, at least. And then last year or 2 years ago, it was what I called the Internet of Smarter Things. So we had Internet of Things where, okay, everything gets connected. This camera, that speaker, everything gets connected. And then things got so cheap. It became so cheap to add an internet chip to anything that you had the Internet of Smarter Things. Of strange things, rubber duckies that were Bluetooth connected and sensed the temperature of the water before you put your child in, things like that. It's just so cheap to add technology now to gadgets, so everything becomes enabled. Go ahead.
So that was one of the things that I wanted to mention when George talked about the Wise Cam. They're really cheap, $20 for an internet-connected camera, but they do security right. Everything's encrypted, they do auto updates, and a lot of the really cheap cameras you buy, there have been horrendous security flaws found. That you can type in a random number in the URL and find someone else's camera because there's no security involved in a lot of these cheap knockoff cameras.
Right, they just default to even expensive ones have flaws. I use the Wise Cams as well. I use their motion sensor or their door detector. So if I'm worried if my dad leaves the house and he shouldn't, my mom gets an alert on her phone. So, yeah. Also, they did say, the CEO of Wise said that although this deal happened with Apple, they're committed to restoring that functionality at no charge. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, very affordable. So then last year, I think I said the trend was, I'll remember Wall-E, and I'll have a picture later of, the guys that just sit in the chair and they go around, zooming around. That was really coming to life last year. And then people ask me this year, and I say, well, you're familiar with home automation, like you said with the cameras? To me, the big trend was life automation, just automating all aspects of your life, not just in your home, but in your car, in your work and in between. I think I have another animation. So here are some robots welcoming us to CES 2020. Yeah, I think I actually have to review one of those. So here's an example of just your kitchen getting smarter. So here's something as simple as a blender. Well, blenders could be dangerous. They're a bit of a pain. They're messy. These guys came up with, and they sort of married, we were talking about wireless technology, wireless charging. They married wireless charging with a blender. I don't know if you saw it, but she put a brochure underneath
Very
the
cool.
blender, and it's
you flip it
quiet,
off
and
the,
it's rotating and powered. It comes right off.
Great.
So why not?
This one
Everything should
doesn't
be
stop
like
when you take it off because it's made to work with the gas, but normally if you would take the cup while it's blending, it would
that.
automatically stop.
It's safe. You'll just have these little stations on your kiosk, and you put a hot water bottle there, or and it boils your water. It's a blender. Whatever that device that you put down will work. Has anybody put smart switches in their house or smart light bulbs? I know you have smart light bulbs. It's a bit of a pain. The bulbs are a little bit easier, but then you need them for every bulb. But switches, maybe you're afraid of working with electricity. You got to go to the fuse box, shut things down. Do you have the right wires? How old is your house? So GE, true to their name, they really saw this problem, and they came up with a really good solution. They now have this switch that will work with any house, a 100-year-old house even. So even if you just have 2 electric wires, 3 wires, 4 wires, the switch is smart enough, and it doesn't care which is positive, which is negative. It does that for you. It really is smart. So, you'll start seeing those more, and that'll be a lot easier for just about anybody to swap in and out. Google has a huge presence at the show. Not only do they have their own exhibits, which you see here, but if any vendor, let's say Samsung, sells a Google product or a product that has Google, OK Google built in, right? They send at least 1, sometimes 2 or 3 people dressed in painter suits, like white painter suits with a white snow hat with their red, orange, yellow, green, blue circle logos. They look like painters. And they're a free staff for your booth. And if you're an exhibitor, it's great. You get extra staff. They can answer questions about Google, and it's a nice feature. And it's great for Google. They have a presence throughout the show without any of the trade show booth expense. But they do have a big presence in the parking lot, and they had this last year too. This big gumball machine, and you put in a big coin, and you get the ball, and you open it up, and inside it is earbuds or something like that. Huge lines for that. I didn't go through that. But then they have a ride. It's like It's a Small World, and you go through that. I did that last year. Didn't do it this year. And that's the end of that ride. Yay, ball pit. Adults acting like kids. So we mentioned Alexa. So this is actually Coca-Cola was launching a new energy drink. And so they had this essentially fake vending machine, but it's huge. And you walked up to it and said, Alexa, I would like a drink and whatever. And it would talk to you and dispense a drink for you. So big line for that too.
This goes well after my favorite kind of sleep, a power nap. Ha! See what I did there?
Obviously, cars are a big part of CES. Last year I went to the car area and took lots of pictures. I didn't do that. It's a whole different wing of the show. But occasionally here, because Amazon Alexa, this was in a different spot, so I took a picture of it. But you have Alexa. I have Alexa built, or not built in, as an add-on in my car. So I have a $30 Echo Auto, it's called. And it plugs into your cigarette adapter, and it connects to your phone over Bluetooth. And pretty much anything you can do at home, you can do in your car now. This is, I mentioned I work with Cloud Checker, so I work with Amazon Web Services. So this was interesting to me. They actually sent me something in advance, direct mail, and said, come to our booth and we'll give you this thing, and so on. So I went to them. So it was smart direct marketing. Got me to visit them. And it's a little band, almost like a fitness tracker, but it's geared towards home care, virtual assistants, and then they have a device that's almost like a Facebook portal or an Echo Show, where a virtual assistant, caretaker, caregiver, will talk to you and monitor you and make sure everything is normal.
Take medications.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, from my take, that was too busy. For somebody who may not be that tech savvy, it should be, I think, a lot more simple. But there's too many things on that screen. But so this is interesting because unfortunately these folks, it's January at CES and they're showing off Christmas tree lights. So it's not top of mind. And they didn't have anything new. I had actually reviewed this product and in time for December, so they didn't really show anything new, but it really is impressive. So these are Christmas tree lighting that uses augmented reality. So you hold your phone up after you've laid all the wires out. You hold your phone up, and then it knows where every bulb is, and then it will let you build a pattern, and you can also have it respond to music. But take a look. Look at that rotating pattern. How could you do that on your own, right? If it's that cool, I think I would do that. So. Yes, that's a good question. Lights work outdoors. It is fully rated for that. And I reviewed them the year before. These are brighter. These are brighter bulbs and actually smaller. But you mentioned the foldable screen. So this is the company that is probably making those screens for the other companies, Royal Flex Displays. So I'll show you this video. But if you look, these are all displays, and they're all curved. They're all bent and curved. Makes for a neat art display. So those aren't just changing colors. Those are actually like computer screens. All right, so we've 2 years ago I wrote about 4-wheel vehicles, 3-wheel vehicles, 2-wheel vehicles. Here's a 1-wheel vehicle, like a Segway kind of vehicle. This is somebody off the show floor, first time sitting down and riding a 1-wheel vehicle. That's pretty cool. Next year, 0 wheel. And actually, here, this is a bicycle for water. So watch this. So he's pedaling it, but in the background you can see somebody really on the water. All right, so this doesn't do justice to how big this machine was. This is a really big tractor. There's somebody, for perspective, as tall as the tire. We talked last year about how all these electronic vehicles pretty much have the same design. They have what's called a skateboard design, right? So it's really just this flat surface and everything. All the electronics are in there, all the batteries in there, the motors on each wheel. And then once you've built that design, you can put anything you want on top of it. You can make it an SUV, you can make it a pickup truck, you can make it a sports car, you can make it a commuter vehicle. So it's a very popular design. There were a lot of e-scooters, electric scooters. This one was pretty cool. This one, they wanted me to write about it for iPhone Life. I'm like, I don't know if I can. They're like, well, think of it as a really big battery charger for your phone. because it has a battery pack in the center, and it can charge your phone. Segway, we're all familiar with Segway. I was at CES when they first came out and got to ride one. But the company has been bought, and now you see electronic e-scooter bikes named Segway. They even have an off-road 4x4 Segway. Looks pretty cool, but not like the original Segway. But here's the Wall-E come to life that I told you about. You never have to leave the house. There it is. There's a lot with sleep automation, technology, special lighting, special beds. Oh, this is cool. Promobot. So this is a company, Promobot, and the idea is you don't have to go to a trade show anymore. You just send your robot, and it talks. I don't have video of it, but they did have a... This one I have video of, so...
Next. Google is a future-style mobility startup developing new transportation solutions. The mission is to revolutionize daily travel and make...
Not a good job of lip syncing, but it's...
Doesn't look as creepy as Arnold did.
I know, it actually is not bad.
We don't know what she's supposed to look like.
Exactly. So there's a lot of virtual screens as well, avatars.
It can understand you and that sort of thing. It interacts.
So I don't know. I think there's another human being, like behind the scenes, responding, and then you talk to it.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Where are you from?
I'm from Korea.
Korea.
Yeah.
How far is Korea from here?
How far?
Yes, how far?
It takes about like 7 hours by flight.
This one looks pretty realistic, right?
It's not like I'm spending 20 minutes with everybody.
Okay. Now, actually, Neon, Samsung launched this Neon stuff like the day, not the first day of CES, so there was all this secrecy. What is this? And I have some postcards, and they just had pictures of like these, like pictures of realistic people. And they didn't explain what it was, but the word got out. And these are much like we just jokingly showed you the Donald Trump one and the other cartoon person. These are realistic people that you can program, and with artificial intelligence, and they could be, your greeters at the airport or something like that. So it's pretty cool.
A yoga instructor, Karen, an airline worker. This one here is somebody we call Monica and Maya. And the first part of the demo, I'm going to be focusing on these two. Let me...
Yeah, but they could be, your greeters at a hotel or something, just to put us out of work, and but you program them with AI, and somebody wants directions. You don't need a person there for that.
In the officer side.
There's a little robot that
If you
actually
are
solves
slower
your
than
Rubik's Cube for you.
10 seconds,
Pretty
you
cool.
got KO. Now we have 20,000 player online. You just order. Can you take both? Okay, just
I think
press
this
the
one will
button.
show it doing it. Look at that.
Okay, and we will show you the...
My best time's 38 seconds. So, this is cool. Robot window cleaner. This is a job I don't mind giving up. Robot bartender, right? So Keurig is getting into this with alcoholic drinks. They have a bartender. I had to take a picture of Joey Fatone of NSYNC. I was invited to a party and he was there. I didn't get his autograph. I saw this picture. I had to take a picture of Dr. Fuji. Keep you sexy. Keep her you sexy. This is actually very cool. My back was hurting with carrying all this stuff at the trade show, and this company was there. And it's like a heating pad that you Velcro to yourself, and it does have an app element to it. So you have a really well-designed app that you can say what degree of pain I'm feeling from 0 to 10 or 1 to 10, and then what temperature I would like and for what duration. And it lasts about an hour, hour and a half, depending on the temperature. Charges using USB-C. That's pretty cool. It does not pulse, it does not massage, it's just even heat, but quite good. Relief heat, all one word. Yep. This company, Ampere Wireless, had a charging fanny pack. We actually gave this one of our Best of Show awards for the magazine. So it's a fanny pack. Keep your style judgments to yourself. I like using a fanny pack, especially at a show like that. Keep all my keys and everything in one place. But it also has a special slot for your phone and takes advantage of wireless charging. And there have been other attempts at this. Target's had a backpack last year, and they improved on it this year. That's designed to, you put your phone in and it wirelessly charges. But it's really a leap of faith because you put it in there, you're hoping that it's charging. But if it's slightly aligned or you put it in backwards, you're out of luck. So this, they have all these Velcro attachments to size it just right for your phone in your case to make sure it's a good connection every time. And there's a green light that shines through when the connection is made and it's charging. So you can just look down and say, oh, it's charging. That's good. So they did a good job. Tap lock, I've reviewed these over the past few years, and I've always had the same complaint. It's really cool. If you like Touch ID, you like fingerprint to unlock your door or your phone, imagine being able to do it for your padlock. You know, the thing that makes me paranoid about it is what if I do it for my shed and I forget and the battery dies and then I'm out of luck. So they have several mechanisms for it. Well, they have a charger, but the older models use a proprietary cable. And for the life of me, I don't know where that cable is. Right? So that's a problem. And when I need it, I'm going to be in trouble. They do have a Morse code option. Yeah, so you can program in like a Morse code tap routine, and that will unlock it as well. And then this newer model uses a standard micro USB cable with a rubber flap to keep it weatherproof. So micro USB, I can deal with that if I were to forget to charge it. And it does last about 6 months, and it will remind you in the app. So this could be good for the gym or something, so you won't forget. Yeah, so there's a battery inside but it's not a removable battery. It's a built-in battery. So, but for 6 months, you know, for the gym or something like that, and again, you'll get a notice when it's 75% and so on. Well, then you can recharge it. Yeah, you recharge it with micro USB. Yeah. So we gave this Best of Show as well. This is a cool video. So there's a big gaming element to CES. So there's the screen is watching you, and you're on this sliding track, left and right. Yeah. Probably not something you're gonna put in your own house, but maybe this will be at Dave & Buster's in the future, that kind of thing. Same company had Bot Boxer, same idea. Many years ago, I was at CES, and there was a company that was demoing something just like this, without virtual reality and without an actual thing to hit, and they were showing how the TV was reacting to you, and that company was PrimeSense, and Microsoft saw them at the show and bought them, and that became Kinect. So that's how things happen at CES. They actually were also being pursued by Apple, but Apple was too difficult to work with. So retro is very big. It's stuff I grew up on. We probably grew up on is now really big, and here is a really big. And again, you can't get the size of it. A really big video game. It would not fit in this room. This was, I got to go to my boss and say, listen, I need this desk. It's only $5,000. It was a 3D desk. It was just wild. Three monitors all seamlessly connected, and that was pretty cool. And then you need a really cool gaming chair, of course. So here's a gaming chair that will rotate in like a half egg shape. And I guess, if they want to make technology for women, the answer is, let's make it pink. And that's our diversity. I'm not approving of that. But they do have a lot of pink technology. And, of course, the bunny ears, that's pink. I know. I think that's discriminatory. Or that's antiquated is the word. Yeah. Right. In a candy store? Yeah. So here's one pink with wings. How's that? I don't know if my coworkers would appreciate a chair that's like 8 feet wide, but
Do they extend and flex?
no, that would be
Now that I would like.
right with the game. Right. All right. So of course I'm from Rochester, so I got to seek out Kodak. Unfortunately, is really just Kodak licensing the brand. So you see Kodak baby monitors, you see Kodak earbuds, but really it wasn't Kodak the company. It was the brand. Another nice company from Rochester, Vuzix. Anybody familiar with Vuzix? Right. So they make the augmented reality goggles, glasses, mostly for corporate industrial use. So they were there. Yeah. So that's the formal part of my presentation. I'm going to open up to questions, and then what I thought we would do is, in order of who has been a member the longest, we'll get to come up and pick a prize, and we'll go from that. But I think actually I'll probably start with my App Rochester folks because they got cheated out of first dibs. So we'll do App Rochester, who's the oldest member, and then we'll do Apple Cider. But what questions do you guys have about the show or any of the magazine, anything like that? Yeah, that's actually news. Not so much at CES, but in recent news, Europe is really pushing Apple to get rid of Lightning and use USB-C. It's one of the things I write about whenever I review a product, like that relief heat that we mentioned. Here's something that's not very technical, not very high-tech at least, and it uses USB-C. So USB-C is just the way to go. It's reversible like Lightning. You don't have to worry about which way do I put it in. It delivers more power, it's more efficient, all that good stuff. So anybody who's still using micro USB, we would shame them on the floor. We were like, you guys got to fix that. And I'll write about it. I might even take off, because I rate everything up to 5 points, and it might lose half a point if it's not USB-C.
Yeah, there was just a couple articles from the EU that 10 years ago they started pushing this. Every single phone manufacturer used a different charging cable for their phones, and a lot of times within the same company, different phones had a different charger. It's like 40 or 50 different chargers. Now, 10 years later, we're down to 3, which is progress. And micro USB was the standard across Europe for a long time. So Apple was putting a Lightning to micro USB adapter in their phone boxes, and USB-A on the phone cables themselves. Well, now we've started seeing the iPad Pros are USB-C, and we expect next year the iPads to be USB-C as well, moving down, and then possibly into the iPhones by the year after that. The sort of the backstory is Apple wanted to go to USB-C 10 years ago, whenever it was they switched to Lightning, but it wasn't ready yet. So they developed their own Lightning standard, And one of the big things that they did on Lightning is it's reversible, doesn't matter which way you plug it in, and so USB-C copied that. And that's we joke about the typical USB plug. You try one way, it doesn't work, so you flip it around, try it the other way, it doesn't work. You flip it around, try it the third way, and it works. And so now with USB-C, it doesn't matter which way you plug it in, which will be handy. And the micro USB, which is kind of trapezoidal, you can never tell which way it is, and you're always shoving it in wrong, and then you push too hard and break the connector. So that's going to be handy to switch to USB-C too. Yeah. But yeah, it's little prongs that you may not be able to feel.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't bring photos of it from this year, but in my previous slide deck from a year ago, I had toilets. Right, there's smart toilets that know what temperature you like your butt at. You know, and I mean, there was actually one that was an add-on this year that was a lot more affordable. So instead of spending $2,000 on a Kohler toilet, you could spend $60 on a seat for you. Oh, sure, yeah. Neon. You can find it in the dark. It's not a bad idea, you know.
Charmin was showing off the roll bot.
Yes.
You're sitting there, you're done with your business, and the roll is empty. So you pick up your phone and push a button, and the little robot runs out with a new roll for you.
Not for sale. It was a demo.
Yeah, it was a demo, and they didn't explain who puts the roll back on the robot for next time, because you'd always forget that. But I always like the refrigerators that have the big screen on the front with cameras on the inside, so you can see what's in the fridge without opening the door. And it knows if the milk is low, it'll send you a reminder to get milk on your way home.
Right, and it can look at what your ingredients you have and then tell you, oh, you can make a souffle, and here's how, because you have eggs and cheese and milk. You know, so you know it's a double-edged sword, all this automation, but yeah.
But then it's usually an Android tablet running that screen, and it crashes, and you get a blue screen of death. And then you got to update the firmware in your refrigerator because there's an exploit somebody found.
So you order pizza.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Other questions? Yeah. 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 They may have. I didn't go to the dedicated automotive section, and also the parking lot obviously is used by like Mercedes-Benz and BMW. They actually have like a test track that you can drive, but it's a long line. So I mean, this show is so big, and there's so much to do that you can't do it all. And I went like 3 days early, because there's press events in the first couple days before the show opens. So I went to those, and then I went for 2 full days of the show. The show's 4 days, so maybe I could have seen more, but I couldn't. Yeah.
4,400 exhibits from 170,000 attendees.
Yeah. HoloLens. That's a good point. You know, Microsoft and some of the big companies have moved away from the show. Microsoft, Bill Gates used to do the keynotes. Ivanka Trump did the keynote this year, which was controversial. But Microsoft, I didn't even see a booth. I mean, they used to have a big booth, and they would usually have their partners in it. I think it becomes less worth it for them. You know, Apple never did that, but they used to do Macworld, and they would do their announcements at it, and they said, you know what, we want to control the environment and have our own announcements at our own theater, and that's what they've done. Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot more robots that I didn't take pictures of because, again, the previous year I took so many. But one company did send me one or give me one, which will sort of like the robot, but to feed your dog pet treats. In fact, some of the pet treats are here to give away. So I'll review that. You know, you're not home and you want your dog to be entertained, and so there's things like that. So you're seeing a lot of that. This wasn't at CES, but also from my dad at home. I got him a dog from Hasbro called Joy that, you know, you pet it and it responds, and it's really cute, and it was very reasonable, like $130. And you know, I think you're going to see that type of useful robot to be more practical instead of some of the, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger promobot. I don't know. Yeah. Am I going to go next year? Every year I come back, I tell my wife, I said, that's it. This is the last year. For 20 years I've been saying that. It's a lot of work. It's expensive. You know, the hotels, if you don't get a good deal, can be $300, $400, $500 a night. A night. That's why I left after 2 days. I was like, you know, yeah. It's the good news is, frankly, because I write for the magazine, you get invited to all these press parties. So I never had to pay for a meal, and all that was, there was like entertainment and Joey Fatone and all that stuff was good.
Did you get the conference cough?
No, I stayed healthy. Thank you. Yeah, I stayed healthy. You know, I normally go Southwest. I put one bag inside another bag, and that bag's mostly empty. And I go there, and I come back with 2 full bags. This year, I only had 1 full bag. So they're cutting back, I think. There's a little less freebie, a little less generous, or the stuff is smaller. But no, I didn't have too much. So. Of battery storage? Not so much battery storage, but there's a newer technology called gallium nitride, and that is faster. That's for the brick, right? The part that plugs into the wall. That charges faster and is smaller. So you might see those, you know, if you look at everybody here has got a charging brick. Those are going to get smaller in the future and hopefully charge faster with that new technology.
There have been some advancements in solid electrolyte that will make batteries safer because there's no fluid in there to overheat and swell.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about a couple of years ago. David Pogue did a big article on one of the companies doing it, and he showed they had a battery, and he was cutting pieces of the battery off, and it just kept working. It kept lowering its watt hours,
Wow.
but it kept working, and they were billing it as a much safer alternative to the current lithium ion that uses a fluid electrolyte, which is why you'll see some batteries will start to swell because as the battery wears out, there's buildups on the cathodes and anodes, and eventually they'll touch and short circuit, generate heat, and the fluid heats up and expands. And so by moving to solid electrolytes, that's supposed to be a lot better, but I haven't seen it come to market yet.
Yeah, one of my MacBooks, when I traded it in, I got less money on it because they said that the battery had expanded to the point where that the trackpad became less usable.
You see that a lot.
Yeah.
It pushes up on the bottom of the trackpad or pushes out on the bottom of the case.
Yeah.
I used to go to all the Mac Expos, and about halfway through these years and years, I found out that most of the stuff I was bringing home was the brochures. And
Yeah.
saying, you're stupid, that's the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Read the brochures,
Yeah.
bring home the junk.
Yep. I do have some of the brochures. I thought if anybody's interested, but yeah. Last year there was more of that. So a year ago I went to some special invitation events, Vizio, LG, and so on. And last year at CES, you might remember, that's when they announced the Apple TV app would be native to several vendors' TVs, LG, Vizio, and Samsung, and maybe a few others. So, you know, not only could you AirPlay directly to the TV without requiring that Apple TV box, you could AirPlay directly to those, and we do that at work at Cloud Checker. We had a Vizio TV. Through software upgrades, it suddenly became an Apple TV, which is great. So we could AirPlay to it, and then so not only the AirPlay capability, right, wirelessly transmitting your video, your screen, it actually has the features of Apple TV, or many of the features. So you could access your movies and your rentals and purchases, and so on. Uh, oh, so you want like IP? Well, all right. So like
Sling, yeah, Sling TV, Hulu
Sling.
TV, YouTube TV,
Yeah,
Pluto. Yeah, there's dozens of them now.
Yeah, they didn't really exhibit there. That's more not so much on the electronic side as Consumer Electronics Show. I don't think they did. Netflix had a private ballroom, but it was invitation only. Amazon did too. Apple was not there. Yeah. All right. Oh no, actually, it's a good point. No, Tesla has not exhibited there, but like you said, some of their competitors have. There was a competitor 2 years ago that made a big fanfare and then went out of business. Faraday, right? Wasn't it? Because they were a knockoff of Tesla, Faraday. Yeah, it's the Wild West. Yeah, I know. Yeah, they've got the solar panels, the battery for your home and your garage, and charge your car. Yeah.
Yeah, for only $14,000, you get 7 days of continuous power.
Yeah. Well, but you can sell power to the electric company.
Yeah, so the company behind us, they do solar cells and wind turbines, and apparently RG&E got mad at them for not using enough electricity and for putting too much electricity back in the grid, and said something about getting the Public Service Commission is now charging you a fee that if you're not using RG&E service electricity, then you have to pay an extra fee. And
Crazy.
so, and there's something similar being discussed about electric cars, because you're not paying the gasoline tax, so you're going to have to pay an electric car tax.
All right. Yeah. Yes, there is. So, good point. So, let me move over here, and we'll bring people up to by seniority to pick out a present. I'll explain what some of them are, and then anybody can take an iPhone case. They are organized from iPhone 6, 7, 8, 10, 10s, 11 Pro, 11 Plain, 11 Pro Max. Okay, so by price and size. So if anybody doesn't know what size phone they have, I can help you with that. But I think, is that it for the questions? All right, so thank you. So who thinks they have seniority at App Rochester? Who's been coming to App Rochester the longest? Yeah, you have. And Gary, you presented too. And then you. Okay, so come on up here. I'll explain what some of these are. Yeah, sure. Thanks. So the lights. Tech Rochester. Well, you can be next. Okay. All right. So I got a wireless charger that also you can take to go. 13-inch or smaller phone case. This is for an Echo 2. This is for the 9.7-inch iPad. This is a wireless charger that attaches to your phone. These are actual earbuds. AirPod Pro cases, AirPod cases, earbuds, AirPod cases. A wireless charger. The AirPods Pro, AirPods regular. This will work with the AirPods. Lightning cable even with auto screen cleaner. Stop.
Trip over that. All right, we can probably do some Q&A while they're going through the tchotchke stuff. If anyone has any general questions. Yes. All right, question. So car connected things, you connect your phone to the car if you just want them both to talk to each other. But a lot of the car connections now, there's cellular in the car, so the car has its own cell phone number basically, that has an upstream internet connection that will, especially like the assistants, like the OnStar Assistant, that had a cell signal that would make that connection. A lot of new cars now are advertising they have a Wi-Fi hotspot in the car, so you don't have to use your phone's hotspot, but that means you have to buy a cellular plan for your car because it has a hotspot service. Most of the companies include like 6 months or a year of cellular service in the car when you buy it, from what I've been seeing. But yeah, your car ends up getting its own cell phone. And in fact, there was on 2020 a couple years ago, the couple of researchers showed how they hacked into a car remotely over its cell phone and were able to apply the brake, set the cruise control, use the lane assist to change the steering. So it was a little disconcerting. Eight. Yeah, so we're getting more and more phone numbers. We need more and more area codes. So the phone system, I think I read somewhere about how many area codes are left now. In some places, there's a plan. So so we won't run out of numbers until 2049. In some places, like New York City, where there's so many, there's three area codes in the city. You have to do 10-digit dialing. So even to call across the street, you have to do all 10 digits because there's too many digits. So there's a proposal about adding an 11th digit. So we might have to worry about that in about 20 years. Thanks for coming. Yep. So someone had mentioned about the internet television, that we had talked about the suppose.tv in the last Cutting the Cord. We found this website where you put in the networks you want to watch, and it gives you the prices of all the best streaming services that have those networks. So that's a pretty cool option. Suppose.tv. So I can tell it I want my local networks. I want to get Fox and TNT, and no, I don't need AMC. We'll do FX and History Channel, Discovery Channel, Science Channel. And so now here are the different streaming services and what they cost. So right now YouTube TV is the best for the channels that I want to watch. So it all starts with knowing what networks you want. So you have to learn what network the shows you want are on. You can't just say I want to watch Channel 10. You have to know what network that is now. Yep. Yeah, keep all your networks handy. Yeah, that's interesting. It doesn't have Hulu. Oh, there's more pages. There it is, Hulu TV. And so it's Hulu plus an entertainment add-on. So one of the channels I picked is in an extra add-on service. So Hulu Live TV gets me most of them, but then there's always that one channel that needs the next package. Yeah, so I've seen a lot of times Science and Science Discovery and TLC, not TLC, I think TLC, the Learning Channel. I think they're all owned by Discovery. And so stuff that shows up on one channel will eventually make it to the other, so you don't necessarily need to subscribe to both of them. So only one to start with, and then wait for that show to come around. Yeah, PBS is streaming. They have apps available for all the devices. They have an interesting way. Well, because PBS doesn't do anything live. Your local channel does live. And I think I just set one up for a customer today. The PBS app, you tell it what your local channel is, and there is options for some live shows. And if you donate to PBS, then you get more options for more shows. Yeah. And that sometimes is the trick, too. You can't watch the Channel 8 news, you watch the CBS news. So in places, I think Channel 8, one of them, does the web streaming. Yeah, a lot of the TV services do local stations, but many of those TV stations have their own website, and they'll do their own live stuff on their own website too. Yep. Milling about. It's like you wait till the end of the day and get the really cool stuff that they don't want to carry home. Yeah, George had mentioned the Wise Cam. We've got one at our office. $20 camera with night vision. So this is the live feed from our office. And I can turn on the microphone and I can hear what's going on. There's nobody there now. You can speak back and forth if you want to. And unlike a lot of the security cam companies, they offer free cloud storage, 14 days of free cloud storage. Or you can put an SD card in the camera and record as much as you want. But a lot of the other camera companies, you have to pay a monthly fee for the cloud storage. So we can go back and... Yep. Yeah, we sold Foscam for a while. Oh, there's me leaving the office. Yep. Well, yeah, we're going to do a little bit of settings in a few minutes. Yeah, the Foscam bought out by Amcrest, but they're still selling Foscam brand and Amcrest brand, and I don't know how they're related anymore. But Amcrest seems to be more supported than Foscam was. Yeah, the browser plugin doesn't work anymore. Yep. Yeah, I ran into that. I think all three of the, or four of these are Foscam. I moved one of my cameras around and couldn't rename it because I can't get into the website anymore. So I didn't think of that to try an older computer. That's a good point. Charlie, did you have anything specific you wanted to see? Yeah, Shirley just mentioned because there is the storm approaching, maybe we should kind of wrap it up early tonight to get out of here. You just want to go out to eat sooner. Then we can get home sooner. Yeah, we'll do some more settings. Yeah. Yeah. Radar map. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, you want to make sure you can get to it before it runs out because it's easier to re-up it. Yeah. So there's the storm coming in. So it's not going to hit downtown until like 1 a.m. though. Weather's coming in, yep. All right, so I guess we're going to call that a night. We'll see you all next month. What did we just... Yep, elections are next month. If you're interested in running for a board position, you can see Charlie or Rick or actually any of the existing members. And also for questions through the rest of the month, Soundbites Radio Show, Saturdays from 12 to 2. And then remember, this Saturday at Bob Hoy's house, we're going to be doing our green apples at 2 and our Q&A at 3. And so we'll see you all next month.